Our next example, we have the variable on the right side of that inequality sign. Well, if that's the case, we're going to solve it the same exact way. The only difference is now, instead of bringing the constants to the right side, we're going to bring this constant of 10 to the left side. So the way we do that is we just subtract 10 from both sides. Being very careful as we do the work here, we've got two negatives, so we end up having to add those two numbers. So when we do that, we end up with a negative 15. We bring down that same inequality sign, and we bring down that minus sign and the 3w. So from this point, what we want to do is we want to get rid of that negative 3 that's in front of the w. So we're going to divide by negative 3. But what we do to one side of an equation or an inequality, we always do the same to the other side. So in this case, when we go ahead and do the division, we're dividing a negative into a negative, so we end up with a positive. But remembering that very important rule that we talked about before, when we divide or multiply by a negative, that means that the bigger numbers are going to become smaller, the smaller numbers are going to become bigger, and so the inequality sign will change directions. And so w is greater than 5. Now I read from the w. I always read from the variable to the number so I can understand it a little better. So w is greater than 5. If I want to write it with the w on the other side of the inequality and the 5 on the right side, notice how the inequality is open towards the w. I'll have to turn the inequality sign around in order to get it to go the same direction because I put the w on the other side. So w is greater than 5. So the way we're going to graph that is we'll start with 5 in the center. We'll put the bigger number to the right, the smaller to the left. And since it doesn't equal, w doesn't equal 5, it is greater than 5. So we're going to use an open circle on the 5 to represent the values of w do not equal 5, but they are greater. So greater is to the right, like 6 is bigger than 5. So I'd shade or draw a line towards the 6. Well, we can come up with another problem. It looks like homework tonight. Let's say we had an inequality that looked like this. Let's go with a 4 plus x all over 3 is greater than negative 4. So what we want to do is undo this operation, this division of 3 that's happening to both the 4 and the x. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to multiply this entire equation, this entire expression here, by the denominator 3. And what that will do is it'll allow us to cross-cancel those 3's, leaving us only with the numerator, the 4 plus x. But again, what we do to one side, we always have to do the same to the other. So we'll have to end up multiplying that side by 3 as well. And so once we do that, we still have this 4 plus x is greater than negative 12. Well, from this point, we've almost got x by itself. We just have one more step. And what we're going to do is remove this 4 by subtracting it from both sides. Now we're still left with the x on the left-hand side. So we'll write that down. And x is greater than negative 16. And so this says that all the values of x are bigger than negative 16. So when I draw the number line, I'll put negative 16 in the center. And then the number bigger than negative 16 is negative 15 because it's closer to 0. Negative 17 is further away because 17 is further from 0 than 16. Again, another open circle on the negative 16. And since the values of x have to be bigger than, because it's open towards the x, so I read bigger than or greater than, x is greater than negative 16, so it goes in the same direction as last time, off to the right. Well, the last part that we're going to look at is when we have a coefficient that's a fraction. We'll take a look at a couple examples of that in part 4.